that process is we remember we have to do this, this, and this of our job, but do we still have to do those things? And what does that really look like? And really kind of pushing the needle forward and being very progressive, and every industry is having to have that conversation, not just, government, but I would like to think with all the dollars that we're spending that would be an improvement in the process and not add to it. But that's not always the case sometimes. Right.
So in summary, I would just say from my perspective, and I applaud you for standing up for your employees, as I'm sure all the department heads are certainly willing to take the roster and do the same thing. And we've been saying we're going to do this for any number of months that have elapsed into years. But I will state this from this microphone that by this time next year, Lord willing, that we will have something in place that we could certainly direct toward in regards to a salary structure that I think that is much more fair than we perceive that we have now, and that will also mirror similar counties throughout the state of Texas. I don't know if that really gives you a warm and fuzzy, but for right now.
No, it doesn't. But I do thank you for your time and consideration.
We have, Carrie, what's left that we missed?
The only other item is the insurance fund, but really the only thing that affected that was the new rate that you approved, but we can certainly review that if you want to review that. But everything else, I believe, you've covered, right?
Let's look at it. We got enough time.
The insurance fund, the increase is already in the budget, is that right?
Right. We budget the expense in the general fund, and the special funds as well, and then we gather it all in the insurance fund, and that's where we actually pay our claims and our premiums.
Okay.
Might this be a good time to go into executive session, since we need to get that done?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know that. So can you read the,
I can.
as far as the agenda items, what the executive
So
session?
we, let's see, item 19 on the agenda, executive session, real property, 6th Street property, to hold an executive session to deliberate the purchase, exchange, or value of the 6th Street property where deliberation in open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the county in negotiations with the third party.
Okay. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to adjourn for executive session. And Mike, do we have a location where we can?
I think this back, we've used that back office before. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Back over
Okay.
here.
Okay. And we are adjourning at 2:35. I'm sorry, recess. Recess.
should talk about it. Okay, all right. You'll bring it up. Okay.
Sure that Dr. Pepper's fine. Would you hand it to me? I don't have anything to drink since I left home this morning.
Oh, so loose is that? Make the chief deputy go check
Is
that
that
out.
Randall back there?
It is.
Who's with him?
She said by himself.
It usually is.
This makes them have to be. Yeah, like last year.
To local.
It still exists.
Okay, we are reconvening from the executive session at 2:53. And I would entertain a motion to authorize the purchasing agent to enter into an offer to the Panhandle Community Services for the 6th Street property and have the county judge to sign necessary documents pursuant to local government code section 263.008.
I'd so move.
I have it written down. Like it's
And if I can just add one point in clarification, in reference to the terms discussed in executive session.
exactly. You got it. Thank you.
Church, Commissioner Church, second.
Okay.
He made it. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded pursuant to the language aforementioned. Those in favor, show of hands. Those opposed? In favor?
He's in
Passes
favor.
5-0. Right. Is that all we need to do, Dave, in respect to this? Yes. Okay.
And Carrie has the insurance that she wants us to look at and just a couple closing items. Is that right, Carrie?
Right. If y'all wanted to look at the insurance, like I say, this is just where we put together the premiums that we transfer from the county, the premiums that the employees pay for dependent coverage and such, and how it's paid out.
Okay.
It's pretty much already been set, but here it is for your review.
And you just separated out the insurance premiums. You pulled those out for the purposes that Kay spoke to yesterday, right?
Correct.
For the trending of that. Okay. Okay. And I would say in reference to the insurance as well, this is certainly a goodwill on behalf of the county to really split that increase. There are several big employers in the local area that is getting pushed to the employee directly. So I think that's a great win for us to be able to do that.
I concur.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay.
Good?
Yep, we're good on that.
Good. Okay, good.
There was one other major item I would like for y'all to discuss. If you do go with the 2% salary increase, earlier in the year, we had talked about changing our pay periods to allow a week's processing time. And the recommendation to the court was to postpone that until a time came that the court was able to give it at least a 2% salary increase. Do y'all want to address changing the pay periods?
Are we at a time, I think we can, and I think, Kay, are we, can give us the particulars, and we can ensure that everybody knows exactly for the conversation where we are?
Previously, what we had discussed was to allow for payroll processing time was to adjust the payroll reporting period, not the dates paid.
Okay.
And to change that the payroll end dates, to move them back by 7 days, which would cause on the date that the change was made on that one specific payroll, that the change was made would end up being a short payroll, shorted by 7 days, because we're moving that payroll end date back. The thought previously and the recommendation was at such time that this court chose to give at least a 2% increase across the board to employees, that increase be given in a one lump sum for the year and paid at the same time as the payroll schedule change in order to offset the felt impact of that 7-day processing time change, if you will. So what would happen then is the 2% increase, an amount equivalent to the 2% increase, would be paid to each employee on the pay period that was the short pay period to offset that felt impact. And then bear in mind that then the following year, once this 1 year cycle is over, our employees still have 2% that's due them for subsequent years, because their salary would have been adjusted from October 1st of this year forward forevermore by the 2%. So what we would then have to do next year is go in before anything else is adjusted and say on October 1st, those salaries are increased based on the 2%, and that's the starting point for next year's budget. Is that a fair?
Yep.
Well, and I think.
Have you had any input from the employees about that?
I have not had any further communication. We had lots of input previously. We had a committee that was formed and lots of conversations surrounding that, and I think the majority of what the employees felt to be barriers to that was, first off, not to change the date paid, because that created too much problem with debits and drafts and those kinds of things, their payment due dates. They didn't want us to adjust that at all. They wanted us to adjust the payroll period rather than the date paid. And rather than be shorted or to feel shorted the 7 days, it was the recommendation of the committee to wait until a pay increase, across the board pay increase was granted, and at that time use that pay increase to pay one lump sum to offset that felt impact. And so we just felt like it was important to at least bring that back to the court at this time and let y'all decide how you want to handle that and if you want to move forward with that or not.
So that was the committee's recommendation.
Yes.
That hasn't been articulated throughout the county as far as the employees are concerned. They don't.
It was communicated. We haven't had ongoing conversations about it. We, honestly, we just have to wait and see if the, it was communicated as if, until such time as the court chooses to give a pay increase. And so now is the time that's occurring.
As we move to next steps in terms of public hearing and input, is that fair to maybe get communication out back to the employees and say, in the proposed budget, a 2% is being considered, this is being reevaluated and back on the committee, and allow public comment, that of course including employees, to come and address the court and give their feeling? I think that was part of the discord, at least from my perception.
Well, I
got
don't know if we entertain public comment in regard to.
I just mean in terms of our
But I meant
open
as far as
meetings.
employees.
Yes.
Right. And I would suggest that we would have the department heads have departmental meetings or correspondence to ensure that all the employees
Yeah, that's fair.
are notified and aware of that. And at the time of our next commissioner's court, we would have that on an agenda item, and at that time, we could vote in regards to that issue.
Yes, if y'all could write the change up, while we're prepared, being prepared to have it.
Right. Is that fair? Is that, for the department head, do you think that, is that a fair process to?
Explain again how it's going to work on the second year. If you get all your money in the first paycheck, so essentially you're at the same amount that you got this year. So how's it going to work on the second year?
Okay, the way that'll work is the 2% salary adjustment will be made to the annual salary. So by the end of the year, from October 1 of 14 through the end of the year, the annual salary will, the amount of money the employee receives in that year will be increased by 2%. But instead of that increase being given incrementally each payday, the increased portion, the 2% portion, will be granted one time at the beginning of the year to offset that felt impact. Now, that being said, that 2% increase that's being given up front for this year is only the amount of the cost of living increase that the employee would have received for this year. If there would be an ongoing benefit to the employee of 2% from next year forevermore. When you get a 2% increase, it begins now and it goes
Although they
forevermore.
wouldn't feel it because they would have gotten it in their first paycheck. And also, how do you handle the fact that more IRS withholdings is going to be taken out of that first paycheck? Would it not put them into a higher level for that first paycheck?
No, because it's going to be essentially the same amount of money. You're talking about a 1 week check plus the 2% increase that will be an amount equivalent to what they were, pretty much equivalent to what they were used to receiving.
Yeah,
anyway.
I understand. Like my $30,000 people would, at 2%, would get $600. So they'll get, $1,200 plus $600. So that'd be the difference in that paycheck. So it's going up to be $1,800, and that's a difference in rate of withholding than it is at $1,200.
Well, no, they would get one week. So the normal pay received for that first pay period would be reduced.
Okay.
Because you're only talking about by an amount equivalent to about 7 days. So that's going to be bumped back, say, for simplicity's sake, from $1,200 to $600. Then the $600 for the 2% added to that to bring them up to the $1,200 that they were before.
Yeah, I can see that.
These-
At $600 divided by 24, if you did it the other way, it's just $25. And I guarantee our insurance rate, they're going much more than that. So, you know, it's not going
Which
to
the
help.
county is splitting. And so I don't know that there's ever an ideal time to have that conversation around the pay cycle, but I do think it's significant strides from when this was first discussed, so the employee, two things were accomplished. The employee's not feeling that drop in pay, that's not happening. And the second is that you're keeping the pay dates the same. You're just
I can
changing the
understand
cycles.
that. I
But
guarantee you, my staff were the ones that.
yeah, they sent
did
very
most of it.
inappropriate emails, to be honest with you, Caroline.
I saw them all, so maybe so.
Uh-oh.
I think if there was ever an ideal time, if you could categorize one as
Yeah.
such, this would probably be it.
But, so you get, so the first year, so you get this initial lump sum. The second year, though, you're not getting a lump sum. It's spread out
It's-
in
it's
months.
spread out.
The 12 months, correct?
Exactly as
Okay.
it would have been had you not given the first year in a lump sum.
Okay.
You need to really give some good examples of,
Yeah, because-
show people what's happening and try to use realistic pay scales
Okay.
to show people what's going to take place. Because that's going to be a stalling factor. People don't think this is clear as mud, and so we need to make it clear.
The insurance, I mean,
In
while we
writing.
understand that, it's hard for the employee to
Yeah, I think
understand.
also you just show that, show 52 weeks starting this October. So what another 52 weeks past that, here's what it's going to look like. If you make 25,000 a year, if you make 50,000 a year, here's what it's going to look like. That way people know what to expect. That's the shocking factor.
So you plan on doing it at the beginning of, like, October 1st? What do you do, I mean, as far as sheriff's office, we have a lot of turnover? We have some, if you pay them in October, $1,800 or whatever it's gonna be, then they quit in the middle of the year, you've already given them money that.
And we talked about that initially in those initial conversations, and we communicated again with legal about it, and,
We just
you know,
take the
we just have to take a hit. There's a point where, you know, it's a cost of doing business. There's some give and take there. And in order to make the correction,
Like I
You know,
said,
but-
again, the sheriff's office, we have a lot of people, leave and go, patrol and do things besides corrections. So it would be probably a big hit.
Couldn't you adjust that as if they quit, they'll have money coming to them and adjust it from there,
Their last check.
their last
If
check?
you're taking their check, if you give them half a check and you want to make it where it's a full check, then you're not.
I'm talking about the people that are leaving you. I mean,
Well, yeah, but sometimes they leave us, I mean, that's why we had this problem, because
Yeah.
sometimes they leave us and the payday's on the 15th, well, they didn't come to work on the 15th, but they already got their check.
we're going to have a hit, I guess, there occasionally, but
You're gonna have a few of
Can't
those
be that
examples,
much.
probably.
yeah,
That's
there
what we're sure you know
certainly,
ahead of
yeah,
time.
there will certainly be some instances of that. And,
can't be
you know,
done.
that's, all of that was discussed up front, and, you know, in order to make the change, at some point, if we are to make a change, and that's for this court to decide, then at some point, we have to step forward and say, this is what we're gonna do on this date, and move forward.
That's fair.
Once it's changed, it's changed.
So, are we clear how we're gonna get the information out then? I was gonna kind of task the department heads, and I guess you work with them to
I'll
ensure.
work on putting together a notification to send out complete with examples, to send out to employees and department heads, and then ask that department heads also put that out to any employees that do not have access.
You can almost send out an example for each paycheck without mentioning people's names, because there's going to be several of those folks going to be making about the same amount. So, give 4 or 5 examples, and that way they'll actually be able to see what's going to happen to them individually.
Could
How-
you do us a favor and send it to the department heads and let us disseminate about?
Sure.
people?
If
Rather
that,
than,
yeah.
that way we can head it off.
Absolutely, if that's what you feel would be best. I just didn't want to.
Dave, how soon would the court need to vote on this to ensure that the correspondence are, and Kay, how much time lead time do you need to getting everything together to present through the departments and have those examples ready to move forward? And I would assume that would be after or at the same time that the court makes the decision of votes on that particular issue.
I can have something put together this, if not by the end of this week, by first of next week to send out to department heads.
And we
I guess
meet
at
on the
that time, maybe
25th. We
let's
meet
vote
on the
that.
25th.
The 20th. I don't want to rush you. I don't think we need to rush you. Make sure that you are comfortable with all the verbiage and the correspondence and examples that you need to have to present to them. We could even wait till the first court date in September to have this on the agenda. I'll make sure that you're comfortable in getting all that together. I know you've done a lot of things that are before you, right?
A little more time would be good to put that together, but I also don't want to push the approval of the budget back to a point that would make it difficult for getting the actual change made.
Okay. So, yeah, if you can be ready for us, and then we could put it on the agenda for the last court date in this month. Okay. Sounds good.
And then did we need to talk about the budget hearing and public meetings? Is that right, Dave, as well?
We're on schedule. Carrie and I were just talking about that. Since it looks like what is taking shape as the budget is going to be over the effective tax rate, which means that the tax rate will be over the effective tax rate, not by much, but so that means we'll have to have all the required hearings. And so the schedule that Carrie kind of drafted and that we approved earlier, we think will still work. So in short, we think we could stick to that. So in short, at the Commissioners Court meeting on the 25th, you will have the public hearing on the budget, and then after which you can then take official action to adopt the budget. And assuming you do that on that date, then we'll have tax hearings, and we'll wrap this up about September the 22nd.
So September 8th and 11th, those are public hearings.
Yes.
One of the comments Commissioner Vaughn made, and I would certainly agree, is last year I think was our first attempt at having one in off hours. Is there a particular day, the 8th or the 11th, that we feel might warrant that? To fall on the same schedule? One's September 8th is a Monday, the 11th is a Thursday.
And the 8th is a regularly scheduled meeting.
The 8th is a regularly scheduled meeting, so we could have the second public hearing as an agenda item in court. Is that right? And the 11th could be the off hours. That would be on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I think we did a 6 p.m. I may be wrong, but
You know, the 11th is the chamber barbecue.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It usually screws me up because I'm involved with that.
Yeah.
well, we can certainly have it on the 8th in terms of a.
Either that, or we can have our meeting early on the 11th at 6 p.m. and dismiss and send them out to the barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're discussing.
We were talking about the two dates, the public hearings, the September 8th and the 11th, a Monday and a Thursday, one of those having in off hours for public input. One's a Monday, one's a Thursday.
It's just voting, so we didn't take any action on the 11th.
Right.
You can have a fairly quick meeting on the 11th, probably.
Yeah. Pretty good.
I mean, it's
Don't think it's-
even if you had members of the public come and speak, it's not for y'all to take any actions, so it's just have their input. So you could just kind of conduct that meeting and probably wrap it up fairly within an hour and a half.
So should we start at 5:30 or 6?
What do you think, Commissioner? You're hotel.
5:36, fine. Wide open.
5:30.
5:30?
5:45.
That's on the 11th.
On the 11th, we decided, did you say 5:30? Is there a consensus?
5:30.
Okay.
Hey, that's all right.
And the other two, the 8th and the 25th, those will take place with the existing courts. That will just be an agenda item through the court. Okay.
Correct. So we're looking at the 25th to discuss and vote on the PACE budget, but also on having on the agenda for the pay schedule. Okay. What else?
We'll be back in the Commissioner's Court.
We'll be back at the courthouse. Everything else will happen back at the courthouse. Yeah.
Mike, we'll be back.
We'll be back at the courthouse for the rest of the sessions. Is that?
Just need to make sure they don't carry your furniture.
Okay.
What I was asked.
Yeah.
I'll put it down.
Oh, okay. We have to be.
All right, do we cover everything? We flagged a couple items. Do we need to relook at those items that we flagged, Dr. D, or are we good?
I think we're okay. I think there were a few that we had flagged, but we wanted to look at what the net impact of that would be before we went back to reevaluate. Carrie, is there anything on your radar that we've missed?
I don't see anything. There's that other sheet I was looking for. Found the sheet on the county court of law printer. It was actually 2007. Sorry, had it stuck in the wrong place. I believe that's it.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Mr. Spector, anything else to come before the court? Yes, sir.
Wait a minute. Recess. We're going to adjourn.
Yeah. We're going
We ready to adjourn,
We're going to adjourn. Excuse me, we're going to adjourn now.
Yeah, we don't recess.
All right, Dave?
Thank you. Good.
Okay.
Don't have to.
Nothing else for the court? Court stands adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good.